So today I'm making a recording talking about Michigan State's game last night against Texas Tech, and I think we're all disappointed about what happened. I'm going to start out talking about the game, and then I'll get into kind of implications of the game going forward, and as it relates to the past. But this is just a really hard one to swallow. So to go over the game. In the first half, Michigan State, both teams couldn't score. It was a very ugly game to watch. No team really pulled away. Halftime was 23-21. Texas Tech. Cassius Winston made a big three before the end of the half to cut it to that, and then starting out in the second half. Arron got a rebound to put it back in to tie the game, and I thought, okay, we got another Izzo halftime adjustment that's going to lead us to victory. And little did we know that Matt Mooney was going to go bonkers hitting three-pointers, and didn't know that we weren't going to get any production from our big men, and less production from Cassius and McQuaid, and actually, Aaron Brown's probably the only one who I thought stepped up yesterday. But the Texas Tech played their brand of basketball, and they forced us to play their brand of basketball. Just look at the way they were defending. They were just in Michigan State's jerseys all night long, and they were very aggressive, and they probably could have gotten a lot more fouls called on them, to be honest with you. But I can't blame the game on that, because Texas Tech just played a much better basketball game, and they just, for both these teams, all they needed was one person to kind of go off, and that was pretty much going to be the game, and that's what happened. I was very unimpressed with Tillman, who's been has just been incredible. His development over the past, toward the end of the season when Ward was out, and in the tournament, and him just playing the same game and being so consistent underneath the basket. Texas against Tech, he couldn't get any of his layups to even fall or even get close enough or get an easy enough opportunity, and he just froze up. I didn't think they tried hard enough to do his normal screen and rolls to get him to go toward the basket, pull it down and go back up with it. The one time they tried that, Tillman grabbed it and just tried to throw it in on an alley-oop, which he never does. He always comes down with it and tries to put it back in, almost always. So really disappointing. That was their bread and butter. Cassius Winston just wasn't able to distribute. A lot of times McQuaid or Winston would end up just dribbling around almost out to half court where they couldn't find anyone, and all the passes were contested, like all of them. And I'm surprised they didn't have more turnovers, because the Texas Tech team, they were just ball hawks on the perimeter. And they were just extremely, extremely aggressive, and Michigan State you think they can hold their ground with anyone with their big guys, but they weren't able to yesterday, which was kind of a surprise to me. It's not entirely surprising because we saw what they did against Michigan, but it didn't look like Michigan State didn't look like the team that they were, and I think Texas Tech had 99% to do with that. I think what State could have done to combat that was I thought they needed to run more, and whenever they did try to run, they'd kind of get caught up, and then they end up slowing down because Texas Tech was in their way, and then things would just slow down, and end up being like a normal possession half court game. But I think that I think they needed to do that. I think they would have had more fouls. They would have gotten fouled more if they would have, tried to just get more stuff going toward the basket. They did settle for a lot of outside shots, and they settled for a lot of desperation shots, which is ridiculous. you can't go where you're going down to the 2 or 3 seconds on the shot clock with McQuaid and Goins both having to hoist it up from 35 feet. So, that's just not going to win you ball games. McQuaid was actually able to do that on the first possession of the game. Kind of reminded me of the 3 that Gordon Sutton had against North Carolina in the championship game 10 years ago, where, they hit the opening 3 and you kind of think it's going to be all good. I thought that McQuaid was going to have to step up in this game, and he actually did, I think, but not enough, obviously. In the first half, only 3 Spartans scored. That was an issue. They weren't able to get anyone else involved, plain and simple, and it was disturbing to watch that game because how rattled they got was just unbelievable, I thought. And they did eventually come out of it in the second half, and they had a chance at the end. They got it to within 1 with about 2 minutes remaining. And then, Texas Tech had another little fortunate couple plays where they scored. They got buckets, they got threes, they got free throws, and that was the end of the game. So, I think, there was a lot of opportunities where they could have crawled back maybe a lot sooner, and then. I still give them credit for coming back the way they did, especially, when points are at a premium, and if you're down 12, it seems like it's almost impossible to come back. But they did. It took some time. It wasn't pretty, but they came back, and when they got to within 1, I thought this is just another game where they're going to win. They're going to grind it out, and I thought there was no way they were going to lose at that point, and I was wrong. And they just played a team that was every bit as gritty, and in fact, far more gritty than they were. A gritty team can come back and win against a team like Duke that is, not as gritty, let's be honest. But they can't do it when they're playing against a better version of themselves, and I think that's what they ran into last night. I don't think that they were a better team, but they were definitely more prepared, and on that night they were better, and that's just in the mentality of Texas Tech right now, the way they're playing, and I think that probably won't be back next year. It's impossible to duplicate that kind of chemistry that they have on defense. I certainly think that they're a program on the rise, but I don't expect this to be year in year out thing. We're talking about them like this. So for the game portion of it, that's what I got for that. We've talked about Michigan State's best chance being this year to win another championship, and I can't stress that enough. It was a missed opportunity. Maybe Texas Tech was actually the better team, but we've seen Michigan State beat teams that were better than they were, and this team was it was a level playing field, and in a Final Four you just can't ask for that, and the fact that they weren't able to take advantage of that, really, really stings. We're talking about almost 20 years now. When I was 10 years old, watching them win their last one, and now I'm a grown man. I'm almost 30, and we still don't have another one. And we're, as an elite program as they are, they should have had another one by now easily. And just huge disappointment. Now you're watching two newbies, as I would call it, play for a national championship, and to some level, you'd say, whichever one wins is going to be on the same level as Michigan State. You don't want a new program that's new to being elite at college basketball being, mentioned as one of the, best program, or being on the same level as you after 1 year. Ideally we'd have, 3 titles by now, or something like that. 3 titles by Tom Izzo alone, or maybe one more. Even that would be significantly different, for the narrative. But this wasn't just another year where they made it to the Final Four, and once they got there, they were in over their heads. Now it's true, a lot of people didn't think that they were going to get through Duke, and a lot of people at the beginning of the season didn't think they were going to contend for a Final Four. But once they got there, they really needed to capitalize, and unfortunately they didn't. I'm not in the mood where I can say like, well, it was a great run. Getting to the Final Four is an accomplishment. All that's true. But what's also true is that now we've been to 8 Final Fours and we've lost 7 of them. And we've only gotten to the championship game one other time. We should have gotten to the championship game a few more times this year and probably in 2010 when they played Butler in the semifinal. So numbers-wise, once they get to the Final Four, they're really disappointing. And that's just really tough. You don't want to be that team that can't finish out a tournament. That can get there but can't win the tournament. And I know they can. Will they? You're talking about going to a Final Four approximately once every 4 years, and you kind of wasted another shot. Maybe they'll go back next year, but next year, the group in the Final Four might be a heck of a lot better. You might have Duke, Carolina, and Kansas in there, and they might all be number 1 seeds, and maybe we're a 3 or 4 seed, and maybe we get, trounced again. So that's kind of what we're looking at. We're looking at a blown opportunity. That's what makes this Final Four so difficult. We haven't always had the greatest luck. Luck's not always on our side. But you still, you just expect to win that one, and you expect, a good team is going to take advantage of the fact that you're not playing any unbeatables. You're playing good teams, but you're not really playing elite teams. So it's tough to lose those. It's tough to lose those kinds of Final Fours. So it's just, no matter what anyone says, it's not like the other ones. The other ones are not. We weren't expected to win, and when you're expected to win, it's very disappointing, and you have to wait a whole another year for another chance at redemption, and you don't know if you're going to get it. You just never know when you're going to get back, and that's why it's so disappointing. But that's, I guess, stating the obvious. But I don't even know who to root for in this game. I would have maybe almost rather seen another North Carolina or Duke win another one, because, if you look at it from one standpoint, you don't want another program to get on your level. That just makes you more mediocre. So, this is just not an easy time as a Spartan sports fan, especially with so little to cheer for, with Detroit sports, or even Michigan, athletics if you're a Michigan fan, which I'm not. But on so many levels, this is disappointing, and it's heartbreaking, and it's going to take longer to get over than it would normally. It's not just another good run that fell short. It's a missed opportunity, and it's a disappointment. And I guess that's all I have to say for today. We'll see. I might get into some other sports stuff here, maybe regarding the NFL draft, and maybe talk some Tigers or Pistons. They play today, and they can clinch a playoff spot today. We'll see how that goes. But anyways, that's it for today. Thank you for listening.